YRE Supreme poll in the live chat. No, brother, that is the top step. There is no qualifying in the live chat. It's only who makes it, who's first, who's second, who's third. You know who's last. We got YRE Supreme taking first on the podium for the live chat to get in here early. Today marks a Thursday, which means we are about a week out from the Las Vegas GP warm-up. But I was thinking today, who am I feeling high on? Who am I feeling low on? Who do I think is going to do a good job? Who do I think is going to muff it up? So I said, you know what? Going into a weekend where we won't have any Formula One, I think that we're going to talk about what I think is going to happen. But before we get too deep into that, do not forget that you do have an opportunity to win the prize giveaway, all right? The main prize giveaway, last one for the season, going all the way up to Abu Dhabi. If you do a super chat, all super chats that you do as many super chats as you do, we'll put your name, we'll put your name into the hat to win the Lewis Hamilton giveaway, the diecast car, the Gem Mint 10 PSA Lewis Hamilton card, a Wolfpack keychain, and a Wolfpack drawstring bag. We got Lord Chaos is second on there. Lord Chaos is second on that podium. Big shout out to Lord Chaos popping in. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk about this. I want to talk about the teams I think that I'm high on, teams that I think that I'm low on, maybe a little bit brief, discussion on why I think that is. So the first team that we got up for grabs, I'm going to try to go through this quickly. I'm not going to try to keep you too long. Not going to try to hold you up. But first team we got is Team Williams, okay? Team Williams coming off, to me, what was a very, very catastrophic weekend. Colapinto receiving a lot of praise. I'm not going to say high praise, but a lot of praise, especially a lot of commending, applauding for what he had done and what he is doing right now as a rookie coming in, just holding as a placeholder. Essentially, he's a placeholder for Carlos Sainz. But, I mean, if you have a placeholder, this is probably one of the best situations to have this type of placeholder. An unproven talent in Formula One comes in, does well, maintains things, and then things seem to kind of fall apart a little bit, having that incident into one of the prior events before the race, and then coming in as Albon completely destroyed his car. Colapinto comes in and completely destroys another car. All right, so he already wrecked one, destroys one. Albon wrecked, completely destroys one. So although Williams having a rough weekend that they are trying to leave far behind them, I still do think Williams is a high. Now, I can't say medium. It's either I'm high on them or I'm low on them. Either way it goes. There's no fence riding. You're either up or you're down. And I'm going to say I'm up on Williams. I think they've got that DNF bug behind them. I think that likely they've had a lot of conversations, a lot of meetings about, listen, we cannot afford any more incidences like that, but we still need you to be competitive. And I think Albon and Colapinto have earned a little bit of grace from me, as far as Albon anyway, holding the ship even since Logan Sargent and before that. But Colapinto coming in as a placeholder and doing what he's done to try to even audition for himself to have a place in Formula One. And I got to say, his stock may have dropped just a tad given those incidences that he had in the past weekend, but I'm still up on Williams. They have done a good job. They have improved. I think car development is going to come a little bit more into 2025, but we are talking about Las Vegas. So yes, I do see at least maybe one Williams car getting into the points unless they have some incident, but I am up on Williams. So the next team that we will go and talk about, I don't think I put these in any type of order, so it's kind of going to be like bam, 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 and running through. That team's going to be Aston Martin, and I'm clearly down on Aston. I am low on Aston. Aston is low to me. Aston is ash right now. I posted a picture. If you did not see it, you should check it out. It was in the community section of Lance Stroll and the chick who just completely destroyed breakdancing in the Olympics, and I don't mean in a good way. I mean in a very bad way. It was horrible. It was idiotic. It was a tragedy. And she should be probably prosecuted for what she did in order to get there. And pretty much like Stroll, I mean, he should be prosecuted for what he's doing in a Formula One seat. I don't think he should be there. A lot of you don't think he should be there. He's there because his dad can afford to put him there. He has a nonchalant attitude. I don't know if you saw the press conference where Lewis Hamilton was sitting there and he happened to look over at Stroll and just kind of noticed that Stroll just wasn't engaged. I'm not even sure Lance Stroll wants to be a Formula One driver as much as his dad wants his son to be in a Formula One seat. But either way it goes, one side of that team, one side of that garage is lackluster, poor in performance, and poor in character and integrity when it comes to the sport. And I just, quite frankly, poor in talent. The other side of that garage is what somebody would consider a great, somebody who has been the longest attending Formula One driver right now, still running away with that at least one record that he has. I don't know how many other records that Alonso holds. I know Lewis Hamilton holds a plethora of a ton of them. But with that being said, you can't deny that Alonso is the strongest driver and holding it down for Aston Martin. And we've said this plenty of times, even in a time where Aston had a podium competing car, Alonso put the car on podium several times. Lance Stroll has not. Going into Vegas, I don't see anything changing. Now, I don't know if Aston Martin has decided to take a back seat, maybe do more testing, data collecting. I don't know if that's what they're doing. I don't know if Adrian Newey came and said, hey, listen, you're already not going to win. You're not in the top 3 for constructors. Your driver, as in your son, is already not anywhere near a good Formula One driver. Let's just do a lot of data collecting. Let's just try to sit back, pull as much information as I can so that I can design and develop you a championship competing car. Maybe that's the case. But I am completely low on Aston Martin, as it will be them going into the next weekend for the GP. I don't see a lot of high notes for them. I don't see a lot of good things probably happening for them. I don't trust Lance Stroll, and Alonso, I don't believe, has the car up underneath them to compete in the top 5 even, although he will be in and out when it comes to qualifying. So that's Aston Martin. I'm completely low on Aston. Next team up for rating is Mercedes. Mercedes. I am low on Mercedes. I'm utterly. Dave Quattro picks up the last spot for the live stream enter. So we got Guarias first. We got Lloyd Chaos on second. And we got Dave Quattro taking up the last step on the podium. Big shout out to Dave Quattro. So yes, I'm low on Mercedes. I am. The driver who people criticize the most has done the most in that car. As of late, Russell seemed to be the better driver in a piece of crap car. We've watched them have this real weird situation where Lewis Hamilton is performing out of his mind within perspective. Okay, don't get it twisted. Just in the era of a very bad car since the W13, 14, and now the 15. And then for some reason, here we come into Q3, SQ3, and then things just kind of fall apart. Next thing we know, George Russell's running up. Lewis Hamilton's falling back. He doesn't hold the time. One time, I remember, what was it? Was it a week ago or 2 events ago? Lewis Hamilton was holding it all the way through Q2, holding the top pole position spot. And then all of a sudden, he's not no performance. All of a sudden, it's just really weird. I don't think Mercedes is heavily vested in Lewis Hamilton. And then they come out saying that right now they're going to focus on doing a lot of testing. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I think that means that Lewis Hamilton's car is going to get weighed down. Lewis Hamilton's car is going to take the blunt of that work. Lewis Hamilton himself is probably not going to be able to do many things as he would want to. And I'm not even sure Lewis Hamilton is going to be big on that. I'm not even sure Lewis Hamilton is saying to himself like, hey, I still want to compete. Now, I did hear Lewis Hamilton was talking about he's still going to be there. He's still going to offer up information, development of the car, all this other stuff. I'm going to say this. Lewis Hamilton is completely, and I do mean completely, he is completely better than me in this situation, because I wouldn't be trying to offer y'all a damn thing. I would not be trying to tell y'all anything about this car. I'm not trying to help you develop it. You haven't helped me really with strategy, tire, anything. It seems like, I don't know if you've really been against me, but you definitely haven't been for me. Russell's your guy. Let Russell do all the input, because he's going to be here next season and I'm not. So me trying to help you build a car for me is not even worth it. So I'm completely low on Mercedes. I'm not expecting a lot for them out of Las Vegas. If something randomly happens, I think it'd be randomly good. but I don't expect much there. So let's go ahead and go to the next team. The next team we're going to talk about is Haas. And I know this is not a trick. This is not something that I made up. That is a green arrow. I am high on Haas. Okay, I am high on Haas. I think we all have to agree Haas has been surprisingly performing well in comparison to what they were. We've seen dual cars in the points when it comes from Haas. Now K-Mag is out, which has been the weaker driver through the season, and he was anticipated, at least by me, to be the better driver. I thought he was going to take another step forward, be a better driver coming into the season. Instead, that driver who took that step forward has been Hulkenberg, who also has a contract for Audi, along with the other driver, Berlin. So I forget his name, but with the other driver. So right now you have Nico and Behrman in this car. Behrman is another talent of a rookie who got an opportunity to perform with Ferrari, made some rookie type mistakes, but still came back in. His ceiling right now is undiscovered. Nobody really knows where his limitations are going to be as he develops into the Formula One driver that he will be. And I would assume that that Haas would hope that Behrman would turn into a formidable, competitive Formula One driver. Now, Haas, up until this point, has been completely locked out as a team where you will not do well, a team that does not do well developing their drivers, a team who has an owner who will not invest into a team and do what it takes for them to be even remotely competitive for championships. I think a lot of that has changed with Komatsu. I think he's gotten in there. I think versus Gene Haas and Gunther didn't seem to really have the know-how or the gift of gab to get Gene Haas to understand you have to do this if you really want these results. You need to do this or you're in risk of not even being here. There's too much talk. There's too much clamor about replacing Haas not being an American Formula One team. You haven't invested enough. You haven't made a big enough footprint. A lot of people don't care for you. Most Americans don't even know they have an American team that represents America on the grid of Formula One. So I think Komatsu has come in and kind of changed that narrative and changed that perspective in Gene Haas's mind as an owner and gotten a little bit more from him than Gunther had ever gotten. And now we see this turnaround. And I would say that leadership matters too. So I would have to say, based on variables, that Komatsu is a better leader than Gunther, that Komatsu can reach his team. He can appoint better positions. I think he's done a good job right now. Now we're going to see what happens going into 2025 when this driver pairing completely gets messed up. But I do like if Behrman could just be in that seat the remainder of the season and get that opportunity, get that experience, come into a season which would technically be his official rookie season, complete seated in a car from the start of the season, and just kind of take off from there. That is what I would like to see from Behrman. As far as Nico, just do what you're already doing. But as far as Haas, I would like to see better improvements. I would like to see better organization skills. I would like to see better marketing. I would also like to see, when you make changes or updates, that these updates convert into upgrades, propelling the car forward as the season moves behind us. So the next team that I got up right there, so I'm high on Haas. It's either high or low. 083 in the live super chat. What's up, my Wolfpack family? What's going on, 083? You know we already talking. Big shout out to the bro. He just put his hat in for the giveaway. You know, as many times as you do a super chat, your name will go into that super chat. It is really a 4-time giveaway because you're going to get a Wolfpack drawstring bag. You're going to get the Wolfpack keychain. You're going to get the Lewis Hamilton card and the diecast. So big shout out to 083. Always here, always supporting, always live. Appreciate you much. So the next team that we're going to talk about is the Papaya Monster McLaren. Where do I sit on this team? And I do sit high on this team, although I feel like they dropped the bag. Lando lost his ability and talent because he gets lost under the bright lights and can't find his way. It's just too bright for him, and then the pressure mounts and he just becomes a jellyfish, and that is a spineless being. He's going to need to do better, but still, with that being said, yes, I am still high on McLaren going into Vegas. And I'm going to have to tell you that McLaren, 16 out of 20 some odd races, have been on the podium by committee and team, whether that's Oscar or Lando. They have been on the podium. So with that being the case, I do not expect to not see a McLaren on the podium for Vegas. If it doesn't happen due to a failed strategy, a poorly employed strategy, poor decisions by Lando, I would not be surprised, but I do expect right now, my expectations are that McLaren continue with the strongest car up until this point. Hopefully that might remain the same for them then, and we see what happens. But yes, I am high on McLaren, plus Oscar Piastri, the new age Formula One Iceman, still a good driver, having a bit of some troubles in the last few events, kind of seem like, but still Oscar Piastri's a dog. I think his ceiling is also undiscovered, but absolutely high at this point in time with what he's given and shown us. So I'm high on McLaren, although I'm a little bit lost on what Lando can do from this point, what we haven't seen done. So McLaren, I do think, will be on the podium by committee. Now, whether that's Oscar or Lando, I really don't know right now. The next team up is Alpine, and I am completely down on Alpine. I'm high on Haas, high on McLaren. I'm down on Alpine. I'm low on them. I'm low on Alpine. Alpine got a very flukish podium, double podium on top of that. These drivers haven't worked well together. Alpine hasn't worked well for themselves. They now have waved the white flag as a works team and will demote themselves to a customer team, supposedly with a Mercedes power unit. Good business for Mercedes to, improve their presence on the grid. While now they will have, if that is the case and this deal does get sealed, Mercedes, McLaren at one point in time trying to wrestle a Honda deal, but still McLaren is Mercedes. Aston Martin, although they are going to a Honda, and then Alpine. So Mercedes, if they lock this deal in, will have substituted the loss of Aston to a Honda power unit and then gained Alpine. So no harm, no foul, no loss. But this team is not a very good team to me. They've had all kinds of problems organizationally and administratively. They have all kinds of problems with the drivers, especially with Ocon kind of taking a backseat, not being too abrupt and aggressive. Gasly just being the driver he is, which his ceiling is completely in view. He does not. He has a very low floor, a very low ceiling to me. I don't see much happening out of that. If it wasn't for this flukish type situation, he and Ocon would not have been on the podium there in Brazil, and I stand by that. So yeah, I'm low on Alpine. I don't expect to see much from them in Vegas aside from a pretty good show, maybe a nice livery and other things. Although I will say this, I saw a clip where a fan were waiting for Formula One drivers to come out, and they were ignored by several, and I do mean several. They were ignored by several drivers. Ocon comes out, sees this fan, goes to get ready to grab the pin, right? Goes to get ready to grab the pin to go ahead and give the fan an autograph, and the fan snatches the pin back and plays Ocon and then tries to get Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton totally ignores him. And I believe Lewis Hamilton definitely ignored him because Lewis Hamilton saw what you did to Ocon. And I don't think Lewis Hamilton, although Ocon's not on my team, me and Ocon are brothers. We know that they drove RC cars together. I think there's some sort of respect there and camaraderie there between Ocon and Lewis Hamilton. I think Lewis Hamilton seeing that was like, you're definitely not getting an autograph from me, because I watched other drivers pass you by like they didn't even give you the time of day, and some of those drivers should have. Ocon was literally going to probably be the only driver up until that time to give you an autograph, and you played him by doing the Giannis thing to Brown, and you snatched your hand back and you played him. And I think when Lewis saw that, he was out on it. He was out on it. So Ocon, I give points. I like Ocon from afar. I don't know him up close. I didn't even meet him when I was there at COTA. I met several other drivers while there. I didn't meet Ocon, but I know he gets wide, elbows wide on the track. I know he could be aggressive, but he's fairly aggressive to anybody that he races against, which I respect that more than what I see from Max Verstappen or other drivers that make it selective to who they're going to really try to race hard and who they're going to be dormant for. So yeah, Ocon, I'm hoping wherever he goes, whatever's going to be, lands on his feet, has another opportunity, does well. But I'm low. I'm low on Alpine. I don't see much happening from Alpine at all, and they got a lot of things to work out. So the next team that we're going to discuss is Team Ferrari. Ferrari, I am high on. I am completely high on. For Lord Chaos in the super chat says, I feel bad for Pierre. He was looking to upgrade with his team change and definitely had the light turned on his date after the club, and it was a mistake. Bro, I don't know if any of you all have ever experienced what Matt is talking about, but when you at the club and I'm gonna make it worse than that, right? When you at the club and you thinking like, yo, I'm about to go get this number. I'm about to walk up on, I'm gonna go get this number. I'm gonna go do the dance thing. And you finally get the courage to walk over there and you done got it in your mind. I'm about to make this happen. Next thing you know, last song's over, lights cut on, people start dispersing. Either you lost your confidence or you saw her under the lights and realized, oh, you was a block or two, or the whole mood is ruined. And yeah, so that's what Matt's talking about. It was a mistake, brother. I agree with you. But as it sits right here, Ferrari with Sainz and Leclerc, Ferrari also one of those teams that have populated a litter of podiums throughout the season. Ferrari has been, I think they have 5 wins at least by committee. 5 wins by committee. Some short of Max Verstappen himself, solo out there, Perez, but 5 wins or so as a committee. Carlos Sainz, although getting ready to exit Ferrari, I think he has a fire lit to prove not only that Ferrari made the wrong decision from his point of view, but Williams, you're getting one hell of a driver. And I think, honestly, I do believe that Carlos would even like to outperform Charles Leclerc in his last season with Ferrari just to make a more of a statement that you chose the wrong guy. You should have kept me. But I do completely get the argument about Charles, the ceiling about Charles, untapped potential here. Plus, I don't think that Carlos would be as good as a teammate as far as absorbing knowledge to lead Ferrari than Charles is. Not saying Carlos wouldn't be a good teammate as far as competitive, challenging, and adding to the team's wins. I think Ferrari are gambling with Charles as far as being a young talent, having more years, which, assumed years on his life in Formula One, and thinking he's a better pairing for Lewis Hamilton because he can be humble. Carlos is not that guy. Carlos is not going to be the guy where Lewis comes in and he's going to say, hey, teach me something, or I'm going to learn something from him. Carlos is going to do what Carlos does. And I don't think that's what Ferrari inevitably are looking for. I think they're looking for somebody that has talent, has ability, has done things for this team, and Charles has definitely done that, but looking to see if they can get him to take a leap and bound forward by studying with Lewis Hamilton, having input from Lewis Hamilton, being able to be in the room with meetings from Lewis Hamilton's strategy and pick all of that up, hoping that he can add this to his arsenal, his utility belt, and come out of there being a far better driver under the mentorship of Lewis Hamilton. And it's something about being challenged by somebody like Lewis Hamilton, because that's what Max hasn't had. Max has not had that challenge in the other garage next to him, and that's a totally different pressure. And I think because Max doesn't do well under pressure. We've seen it. We know this. So that if Charles can withstand being in the garage next to Lewis while still maintaining a good relationship with Lewis, but being competitive on the track to challenge Lewis that if I have the ability, I'm going to beat you, but I'm not going to cheat you. I'm not going to push you off track. I'm not going to underhand tactically take over you. I haven't seen that from Charles. I've always seen Charles voice his concerns on the radio. Everybody knows, say what he's got to say, and that's what it is. So I don't see this being a toxic relationship more than I see it being a beneficial relationship. But still, if we look at it, I think a lot of us would say Carlos just seems more poised, more observant, more tactical when he does things. But that does not mean Charles cannot learn to do the same, especially under the guidance of Lewis Hamilton. So I am up on Ferrari. Next team that we will go over, and that is VCARB, all right? RCAV, whatever you want to call them. But yes, VCARB right here. And I am high on VCARB. I'm high on them. I'm high on RB. I think that Yuki has done a pretty decent job managing with all the circumstances. I think going into Vegas, I still think the way that they finish, one of these drivers will finish close, if not into the points, whether it's Yuki, whether it's Lawson. Lawson is another rookie talent that has shown himself very palatable to not only the junior team, but the varsity team. Not only them, but teams outside of there. So Lawson, while staying loyal to Red Bull, he definitely gives them some upside. And he's been no punk by any means, whether it's the junior or the varsity team. And Lawson has had his run-ins with Perez. He's had his run-ins with other drivers, but I do think it's been all within bounds. I haven't seen him being ultimately disrespectful to the point where it's just, this is nasty. It's been, hey, I know I'm the fresh dude. I know I'm the FNG. I'm still not going to let you just push me around and think that I'm just supposed to open up the door for you because you driving for Red Bull on the varsity team. I'm not going to just let you push me around because you think you earned this and I just getting into this. I'm trying to win a race, and we're not on the same team. You're on Red Bull. I am on RB. We're not the same team. That's how he's looking at it, although we know that's not the case, because if that was the case, why do you need to wait for Christian Horner? It's been so far removed. I don't even know who the team principal is. I keep forgetting who it is for VCARB. Honestly, it's ridiculously crazy, but I am still high on RB going into Vegas because Yuki has shown us that he's improved himself, not only as in a person, but also as a driver. Lawson has shown us that there are things to watch to come from him and what he does in the car. So, yeah, I'm with it. I'm with VCARB going into Vegas. I think, hey, there's going to be something to be seen there as well. I don't think both cars make it in the points, but at least one of these cars might make it in the points, and we'll see what happens from there. All right, so I'm high on VCARB. Next team up is Red Bull Racing. And I am low on Red Bull Racing. And people gonna be like, oh man, he just hating on Max Verstappen. No, I'm just calling it like it is. That, like I said about Alpine getting a fluky win, that was a fluky win for Max Verstappen. That is exactly what it was. It was a fluky win for Max Verstappen. Can we please not do that? And like I said, these are facts. These are stats. These are not made up. Max Verstappen is down 21% on his win rate. Not to mention, he hadn't won a race in 10 races since before the fluky finish in Brazil. If the weather is not a situation, and it wasn't even just the weather, because he wasn't necessarily doing great in there, although everybody wants to make this comparable comeback from Lewis Hamilton from the print to there to win from 17 to up. I'm not saying that's not a good drive. I'm not saying Max didn't do a solid job by maintaining and not making a lot of mistakes, but he was not going to win that race had there not been a safety car to go in for red flag and then everybody just completely wash away McLaren and Mercedes strategy at that point in time. Lando likely probably wins that race, honestly, on that net situation. So Alpine, fluky podium. Max Verstappen, fluky podium. It's been 10 races since he won a race, and that was a fluky situation. So, no, I'm not going to be right out of the gate like, oh, Max is back, Red Bull's back. They're going to be the most dominant car out there. They still got a dominant competitive car along with McLaren. Max Verstappen hasn't driven the best. He hasn't done more with less, as many people thought. And he's less is nowhere near Mercedes less, nowhere near AlphaTauri less, or Red Bull Visa Cash App less, nowhere near Aston less. It's just a smidge off, and he can't do more with that. He hasn't been able to win it. So a lot of people got proven wrong in that instance. And as it goes for Perez has been distant, and I do mean distant as not just in friendship. He's been distant in placement out there on the grid or on track position. He hasn't been awesome, which is why Red Bull is pretty much falling by the wayside. And by the wayside is very compared. I mean, it's very, subjective because they're third. That's not top three is good in constructors list. But what I mean is they were a formidable first, and Perez, you can't win Constructors Championship throughout an entire season with one driver consistently outside of the top five, held the top 8, sometimes not even out there to get points. You can't do that. Performing not well in quali, you can't do that. So I'm down on Red Bull for several factual, good, valid reasons. And that fluky win in Brazil does not change anything from right now. Now, Max Verstappen goes into Vegas and under normal conditions wins a race and wins it quite handedly, then yeah, I'll be like, all right, Red Bull's likely back on track for not if the most competitive dominant car, back to being dominant car status, and Max Verstappen behind and sitting in a dominant car is going to win races like Lando has not been able to consistently do. And there is where I say, Lando, you got to be careful about what you say. But yes, I'm down on Red Bull Racing. Fluky win by Max Verstappen last Brazil race. You didn't see his Roach and his Troll squad come out until he actually won a race, which hadn't happened in 10 races, which is all BS. And that's cheap as it is, but that's real. That's not a lie right there. So say what you want to say, but I'm down on Red Bull going into Vegas unless they prove something different. And I'm open to it if they want to do that. Next team up for consideration is kick them out, please. Sauber, completely down. These drivers probably are nowhere near locked in anymore. Neither of these drivers is coming back next season. Audi has decided who they want 2026 to be in their cars. 2025, Valtteri is going to have to find a new home, might return back to Mercedes. Zhou might not even be in Formula One as a 1 or 2 driver. He's lucky if he's going to be a reserve driver or maybe even sim test driver, if that. Yeah, I'm totally out on them. Plus, this team does not even have one single point to their name yet. They don't have one single point at all. And that, if they finish out the season with no points, that's going to be a historical fact that you don't want to have. And Audi, you're going to wear that. You're going to wear that because right now, I think we all agree, Audi, you having some input in this development or undevelopment or no development, but it's still you underneath the green machine covering. It's Audi. It's all those intersecting circles, those rings together. It's you, okay? And I would be very careful about not putting anything into this because if Audi comes in and performs like this, it just compiles on top of what we're going to feel about you then. You're going to wear the 2024 and the 2025 situation, and then in your campaign in 2026, if we see a similar performance, you're wearing all 3 of those seasons because we think that you're implicated in all 3 of those seasons to some degree, whether it's a little, some, or a lot, you're there. But I am completely low on Kick Sauber, Stake F1. They are nowhere to be found. They have been the most distant and most invisible team this season of Formula One, and I do not expect for anything to change, even in Sin City where gambling is prime and you can hit high and leave high. But one thing I do know, you can go there with some and leave with nothing or less than nothing, and your life is ruined. And Kick Sauber F1 is not a good bet at all. That's a long shot bet. That's like one of those bets you place $1 on and win $10,000 because they won a race. It would have to be crazy. It would be something crazy. All right, so next, we're finally going to talk about this, the championship battle, which some are putting all types of information out there on about still an opportunity for Lando and what Lando will have to do, outscoring Max by 3 points every race and Max not finishing a lot. Listen, McLaren, unfortunately, due to a debacle of transpiring situations, lost it in Brazil. That is my opinion. I do know factually without no doubt that there is still an opportunity there. It is very slim to none, depending on what happens. But I do not think Lando overcomes the dropped basket of bread and eggs that they did in Brazil. Okay? McLaren were on it, and they took and ran a strategy that literally was going to pay out and was correct. It seemed like, they're cutting it close, but they did it right. And then they got nabbed. They got tripped. They got bamboozled by safety car, VSC, and then red flag, which allowed Max to come in, holding Ocon first, holding the position, them losing out on that. It was a very horrible situation, and that's why it was very fluky. So as fluky as it was for Alpine and Max Verstappen to be on that podium, it was just as fluky for Lando and McLaren to lose out on pretty much a race win. And Max, I don't even think gets up into the top 5. I think he's going to sit around the 5th, maybe 4th area right there, having some battles right there. But I don't think he does any more than that. And the fluky situation led to him having this miraculous bullshit drive because of the fluky situation. It was not purely off merit. We all know this. Max Verstappen stan fans, baby mama dramas know this, but they just want to act like it was. But Lando lost out on that. But even after Lando losing out, Lando, you failed under pressure. You failed under the bright lights. Derwin Hill Galactus in the chat. What's up? Lando he didn't completely, let me not say completely, but he fell apart pretty bad. I mean, his driving got worse after that situation. And I can understand you're not happy about it. I can understand you're upset about it. I can understand you feel like you just got cheated. I can understand that. Imagine how Lewis Hamilton feels. 2021. If you did that under that situation, I can imagine you would have lost your damn mind at 2021 when they stole an 8th world title driving championship from you and they cheated you, and it's literally a scandal that is documented. People got fired and resigned, and they admitted protocol wasn't followed appropriately. But we're not going to do anything about it. Lando, bro, if you lost your mind right there, I'm thinking you'd have lost, I don't know, whatever more you could lose in that situation, you would have lost it. But I don't see this happening. I think Max Verstappen in Brazil, that was a pivotal moment where pretty much 4th championship sealed in the bag for Max Verstappen and I'm going to say this, by the hair of his ass, because if it were not for that, and these situations happen in racing, all right? And this wasn't like 2021. 2021 was a coup. It was staged. It was planned. It was begged upon. It was given. It was a scandal. This wasn't a scandal, more so that I think the regulations, the rules need to be adjusted. I think if you're going to bring the safety car out for weather situations, then you need to do the unlapping, or you need to make sure everybody that comes in, you cannot change parts. You cannot change tires. You cannot do any of that. You will hold your places. You will go back out on track. We will have a rolling start. Or a standing start. I think it should be rolling. A rolling start. And you will have to come back into the pits at your own merit. I think that needs to be changed. And because that situation is what it is, Lando got caught out and that didn't happen. So I don't know where his mind is going to be going into Vegas. These chances that everybody are talking about are very slim chances. There's 3 more races left. There's 2 more sprints left. Yeah, it's there, but you'd have to have just as much fluke as it took Lando out. It would need to be more flukiness to take Max Verstappen out of contention. And what I mean by more flukiness, Lando wins a sprint race, Max doesn't finish. Lando wins a race, Max finishes outside of points. That's the only way this comes back to being something relevant to me. So I don't give a damn about these posts that they're making. I don't give a damn about these numbers they're putting in gold and boss and making it seem all special, like something's going to happen. To me, at this point in time, it's just all about trying to embellish the last few races to make Max Verstappen's campaign seem better than it is. And that's what it's been a lot of making Max Verstappen's campaign seem like it's better than it is. Now, all of a sudden, he's taking a car that's horrible to being a champion. What the hell are y'all? Where do y'all make this shit up? Where do y'all come up with this BS for real? Y'all come here and talk about me. Y'all are making up some bullshit, like for real. It's crazy. It's crazy what they trying to do to make it seem more lavish than it is. No, it's not. So, but yeah, McLaren. And then you also, I will say this, there's a such thing as performing to the level where you take out some of these situations where they won't impact you as much. And McLaren, at least on 2 or 3 occasions in events, they shot themselves in the foot with poor strategy. They deployed strategy like a midfield team while they were a top running team. They messed up pit stop. They did a lot of things that really screwed themselves. So I'm not letting them off on that either. You put yourself there in a position where if it came down to this, and we warned you, a lot of people talked about it. I talked about it. You should have been deploying team orders. You should have been trying to get Lando as many points as you could in situations, but you didn't. And I understand you didn't want to kill the spirit of Oscar, but There was a way, I still think, to do that without that happening. And Lando might have shot himself in the foot too with what he did to Oscar. I think Oscar would have been a little bit more giving and a little bit more defensive had he not seen that. Lando, bro, you willing to screw me if you had an opportunity. So that is what it is. Those are the rankings. That's what I think about the championship battle right now. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do not forget, also, big shout out. Let's see who all put their name in the hat for the giveaway during this live. We had Lord Chaos put his name in the hat for the giveaway again. 083 put his name in the giveaway hat again. Remember, every super chat you do, your name goes onto the wheel. So you could have 20, 30 entries. It will be a Lewis Hamilton Gem Mint PSA 10 rated Chrome's card. It will be a die cast. It will be a keychain, and it will be a drawstring bag that will be given away Abu Dhabi weekend. So you have all the races and events as many times as I go live to put your name in the hat, to do the super chats, to get it up, and we'll see what happens. So you already know what I say. You know, it's Wolfpack. We having a good day. I want y'all to have a good day. I want y'all to have a good weekend. We're going to be live again. It's not going to be the last time we're going to be live. We're going to be live in here. But you know what your boys say. Wolfpack out. Peace. Be safe. Drink water.